All right, guys, welcome. This is the Difference Makers podcast. My name is Justin Tamani. I'll be your host today. Today, we have with us a special guest. This is Brett Piperni, or Van City Brett on Instagram. He is a mental performance and mindset coach and works with some very high-level athletes across the globe. So, Brett, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Justin. Appreciate it, man.
Awesome. So thanks again. I really appreciate you squeezing me in here. I know you're busy. So I do appreciate that. But tell everybody, so going through the title we just gave you, mental performance and mindset coach. How the heck do you get started in something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as common as a personal trainer or a normal coach, a little specialized, but I trained martial arts at a national level for years, quite some time, 15 years ago or so. And I started to realize as I, evolved in my career and got a little bit older, that there was a huge gap between physical performance and actual like overall mindset and just mental well-being. Whether you have a good day or a bad day, that drastically can change our performance.
Yeah.
So it was always something that intrigued me. And then after I kind of hung up the belt and I started looking back at a lot of things, and I realized, oh man, I probably could have done a lot better. I probably could have done this better. I should have done that. But it's funny, I didn't really notice it at the time. And sometimes hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I started to kind of connect the dots between, well, only if I would have known that then, and how can we proactively do that for what's next? That was the whole key to mindset. That was the big kind of eye opener for me. That really changed it all.
And that's, I mean, you and I have talked about this before, but that's something too that, like, I mean, looking back on my sports career, looking back on my career in baseball or CrossFit or whatever it was, like, I can never say that I like gave it 100% my all. And some of that was just that mental side of just being, I have too much on my mind, too much on the go, and I couldn't just compartmentalize that while I was training.
Yeah, totally, man. And you're not the only one. I mean, pretty much the vast majority of us are like that. There, aside from the select few. But the craziest part is now doing what I do. It's a skill. It's a learnable skill, right? And if you
Mhm.
think back to, oh man, I wonder what would have happened if I would have done this, or what if I would have just pushed that extra little bit. And that fear of regret or thinking like that now is what drives me every single day. And it's also the things that drive my athletes, right? I mean, these, as you know, there's a window of opportunity for the majority of athletes to perform at an extreme high level.
Yeah.
The last thing we ever want to do is look back and say, "Oh, I wish I would have done this." And to me, the gap is mindset.
When you've started with some of your athletes, are they do they kinda know what they're getting themselves into when they start working with you?
No, absolutely not. I think the idea of it is like, oh, that would be kind of cool. Like, how does this work? Is the thing with mindset coaching is it's not like physical training where you would, let's say you have a session for an hour or a 90-minute session, and then you're done, and then you do another one, and then you're done for the day because you physically can only do so much.
Yeah.
Man, the mind never stops. Like
Yeah.
this thing, it doesn't really get tired, and it takes a lot. So a lot of times I think people think the idea of it is really cool, but really when it comes down to doing the work, it's a substantial commitment. But the payoffs are huge.
Yeah. Do you see people just, like, not be able to commit to that?
Totally. Yeah, for sure. And then again, it's funny, like I hear it all the time, like, "Oh, I'm prepared to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Like I want this because that's the state that they're in, right?
Yeah.
And okay, here's the workload. Then they're like
Mhm.
good for a few days, and then it starts to taper. And again, that's that whole challenge of the thought process, the commitment.
Like, so you work with Emily Rolfe. We've this is established. Like,
Yeah,
the stuff that you give to Emily, I mean, because 'cause you've been working with her the longest, right?
that's right.
Is she doing that kind of ongoing, I don't know, you don't have to comment fully on this if you don't want to, but is she doing that ongoing work like you would start somebody brand new with, or is she kind of built up already?
Yeah, it's a great question, Justin. It's kind of like training. So when we look at physical training, we all start somewhere, whether it's fundamentals, having good mobility and so on. But we always have to do accessory work. We always have to do the little things. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what it's like with mindset. Like you built up to a certain level. But if you skip training a certain thing for X amount of days, like, you're going to have a hole.
Yeah.
Same thing with mindset. So we've built a great foundation over the years. The nice thing is, if we do step back in a certain area to get back up there again, it's not as much work. Just like, foundation is super solid, right?
Hmm.
But the other thing is that as we evolve in our career, in our personal and professional lives, things change.
Yeah.
We get a little bit older, we get wiser, or maybe the life start to change. Maybe the goals start to change. Well, all of that has a waterfall effect. So again, with the mindset training, it's really applicable to where we're at currently today, and where we want to go. So that needs to be very clear.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, that's the biggest thing, and I think with any training program, right? Like having a roadmap and
Yeah,
having that
totally. I
guideline.
think you're right, man. I mean, I think about so many people have a really good idea of what they want potentially,
Yeah.
right? It would be nice, but going after what would be nice and what is like truly deep, holy, like rooted in you is kind of different sometimes. It would be nice to do this, but I'm not prepared to do the work, so that's not really what I want,
Yeah.
right?
Do you like, and that's the thing is like, I see so many people who I don't think understand what it takes to get to that high level where they, especially years ago when they saw CrossFit, it was like, oh, that guy's in the games. Like he's like, he's only been doing it for 6 months and he's just like that fit already and he's at the games. But people don't look at the backload of work
Sure,
and what it took to get to even that point where he could start.
totally,
But
man.
then like now the barrier for entry is so high that you have to be starting like all of this stuff at such a young age. Now it's like baseball or golf where like you don't hear about guys getting into the big leagues that who started playing at 17. They started playing it when they were 5.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, man. Yeah, it's incredible how much this sport has evolved in 10 years. Even the last 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you are working with athletes, I mean, you're working with athletes of all kinds of different sports. Do you separate the sport from the mindset, or is it mindset dedicated to the sport?
Yeah, another good question. You know, we're we're pretty much the same across the board. Like when it comes to
Yeah,
mentality, right? The sport is more just like the application.
yeah,
But when you look at like core things about mindset training, and I could touch on a few things really quick. A lot of times we will think certain things consciously and subconsciously. So we can sit here and think back about a memory when we were, I don't know, 10 years old. You remember that photo, you remember that moment in your life, and you
yeah.
think about it and it brings you joy. Like you smile, physically
Mhm.
smile, right? And you can think about a time of hardship and maybe it does the complete opposite. So we know that when we think something, it's going to trigger a response, an emotional response. All right. And we can feel that change. And people make decisions and take actions based on how they feel.
Yeah.
So that's why we have people making, sometimes great decisions and sometimes not so great decisions when we're emotional.
Yeah.
Right. So we think these things, which then dictate our emotions, and then we make decisions based on how we feel. But the scary part is the vast majority of us sometimes think things subconsciously, things that are happening in the background, to how we choose to view the world in front of us in certain way, upbringing and so on. And those things are changing our state. Like they're changing how we feel and our ability to make decisions because we make decisions based on how we feel.
Yeah.
So it's pretty remarkable when you think about certain things when I start to talk to people about just the baseline stuff about becoming more consciously aware of the thoughts that you're having, a couple exercise doing it, the majority of the people at the very beginning are pretty much shocked at sometimes some of the things that that we actually think.
Yeah.
I mean, we can joke about it because we know we think some messed up stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like we're human, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we think certain things and we don't really realize the ramifications of the thoughts that we're actually having until they become real. Like if I was to get you to write down those thoughts and you
Yeah.
read them, you'd probably be like, what am I thinking?
I probably wouldn't even write half of them down.
But probably not, man. So just these little like self-awareness things, it's pretty fascinating how much you can learn about yourself in just such a short period of time, just by taking note of your conscious thoughts. It's an interesting technique.
Yeah, like just you saying that, I've recounted a lot of the things I've thought since like the conversation started. And
Yeah,
I'm like, man, my mind is all over the place. And like I'm listening to you, I'm paying attention to you, and I'm ingesting this, but like, yeah, like it's like I just went like way out to left field and came back a
oh
couple
yeah,
times.
yeah. That's the mind, and that's why I say it's so different than training a physical body. Because physically we can only do so much in a gym in a
Yeah.
session. You know, but mentally, oh my gosh, man, that's a different rabbit hole.
Have you had a chance to like talk about mental state with like any elite athletes in their field, like the people who have been regarded as like best in the world?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had glimpses and moments where I've had a chance to speak to some of their coaches.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, when you think about like the big names, when you mention people like Kobe or even Matt Fraser, Michael Jordan, like
yeah,
these guys are in just a completely different realm. I mean,
yeah,
we've seen the videos on YouTube and you've heard some of their quotes and some of the things that they say. And even me as a high performance mindset coach, I look at them in awe. But
yeah,
at the same time, it's inspiring because I know it's possible, right? Like they're
yeah,
living proof.
yeah,
So when I see the video of Matt Barnes faking the ball to Kobe to hit him in the face and Kobe doesn't flinch, like to me, I, we're born with a certain set of skills, and one of them is like caution, protection. Like if the
yeah.
car in front of you slams on the brakes, you don't stop and think, "Oh, what should I do?" Like you literally slam on the brakes, right?
And
It's a
that's why it's a reaction.
that's right. But it's incredible that you can train yourself to choose to respond in the split of a second. It's a choice.
Yeah,
And to me, that's the ultimate power, man. I mean, you think about having that much control over your
yeah,
mindset, which then controls your physical state. Then what can you actually get your physical body to do when you tell it to do something? Because if you
yeah.
can tell your reactions to stop, think about the power that you can harness to tell your body to go. Mm, yeah.
On
Think
that
about
note,
it.
we're done
You
for
get
today,
goosebumps.
people. Think about it. No, no, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Like it's to me, like I said, it's living proof. I love it, man. That's what I fell in love with. That kind of stuff. And then I
Yeah.
just started to apply it to my own training, and I was like, well, there's a big gap here. And then went to school, and the rest is history, man.
Because man, there's so much to that to unpack from what you just said. And like that being able to train in that way, like, do you think that some of those top performers consciously did it, or they subconsciously convinced themselves to be like that?
Yeah, so you would consciously be in a state where you can train yourself at such a high level that your subconscious follows. So you basically created a state.
Okay.
You've created an environment that is your new normal. That is your new way of life. And the
Yeah.
subconscious is with you in that state. Yeah, this isn't like some hocus pocus thing. This is like if you think about how people when we talk about people here say, oh, you're just like the average of the five friends you hang out with, like the
Yeah.
environment that you're in. We've all been to different environments. Like when we go to the CrossFit Games or we're training in the gym, that's an environment that we're creating. We feel different.
Hmm.
Right? So if you consciously create that environment in your mind and you train yourself over and over and over, that becomes your new normal for your conscious and subconscious mind because you're creating that environment.
Huh.
Wheels are turning, eh?
Wheels are turning. Yeah, no, like that the idea of you're the sum of the five people that you spend time with most or hang out with most. Excuse me. That concept has always resonated with me.
Mhm.
And I feel like in business and in work, like that has really heavily impacted me. And I can pick those people out at different points in my life.
Sure, of course. That's when you say it resonates with you, that's your conscious mind making the connection.
Yeah.
And even you don't even need to think about it anymore. I bet you if you see those people in the
Yeah.
background, your mind is going to put the pieces back together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's how our mind works.
Man.
Oh yeah, man.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy because I played competitive baseball let's call it 15 years. Doing CrossFit competitively, 8 years. The amount of mindset coaching that my coaches brought upon me is very little.
For sure.
Right?
Probably like cumulative of a month, man.
Maybe, like in that whole time. Now, I will say, when I was in I remember this, grade 9, okay, we had to fill out a test, and our coaches sent this test off and gave us a CD, right? Throw it in your Walkman. Listen to this on your way to the game to get you focused. And it was exactly what you're talking about, like getting you in the mindset. It was mostly just getting you to focus and relax your body and get your mind ready for what you had to do. But that was in grade 9, and nobody talked about that,
Man.
the rest of the way. But you know what? I had that. I burned that I had that on CD, and I would listen to it on the way to almost every game.
Oh, I
And
like it.
into university, into college, I still listen to it. I put on my MP3 player. Yeah, MP3 player,
Nice.
right? My white iPod with the
Love it.
wheel. I put it on there, and I would still listen to it in college. So, I mean, that I had that tape for like 6 or 7 years and listened to it before most games.
Dude, that's super cool.
I feel like, though, I'm in the minority there. Like a very small minority of people who actually would do something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I completely agree, especially in that day and age, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's becoming a little more prominent now.
Yeah.
But you know what's so cool about that story, and I love it, man. You would listen to this every single game, or right before every event, or all the way to university. The cool thing is that you created almost like an NLP, like a neuro linguistic program, in your mind. The second that you picked up your MP3 player and you made the decision to listen to it,
Yeah.
your body would already start to change its state because
Yeah.
you're creating a habit, right? It's like when you move a barbell, when you start cycling a barbell over and over and over, you can pick
Oh,
up a
yeah.
barbell and grip it and rip it. You don't even need to think about it anymore.
No.
The same thing happens with our mindset. That's why you can have certain players like Rafa Nadal, and he'll set up his water bottles in a certain way, or Tia Claire Toomey will stomp her right foot twice when she goes to hit a heavy bar. You watch these things, and it's them consciously putting themselves into that state based off of hours and hours of preparation and repetition, just like your MP3.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I think when I think about it, I bet you probably didn't realize at the time, but and maybe you did, when you started listening to it, even at the very second when it started, you'd probably start to feel different.
I mean, I bet you if I listen to it now, it's like almost ingrained in my mind.
Totally.
Not necessarily the wording, but the sequencing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And again, that's the wonderful thing about the mind, man. Like, think about the software. Okay. Like, we have the hardware that can learn anything. We just got to figure out what software we want to put into it.
Man, so much to think about.
Yeah, I know, man. Totally. Tell me about it.
And this is, I mean, that's the name of the game, right? But like, I wonder how athletes perceive this kind of stuff. Does some go like, nah, that's just like hocus pocus, and that's like not real, and like it's all physical?
What's up, guys? Justin here. I'm really sorry to interrupt the show, but we're here to talk about something special. This is to talk about Bionic. Bionic is a first of its kind AI-based motion tracking mobility test that's designed to show you what your body is really doing. We've designed 7 unique tests that show you your range of motion for different joints throughout your entire body and how they work together. Once you're done the test, you'll be given a body map score, which breaks down your entire body and their different range of motion. From there, the WODProof app will also design a mobility program specifically tailored to your needs and the things you want to improve. I can't wait for you guys to try out the test. Go download the WODProof app today, start your free 7-day trial, and try Bionic today. All right, guys, back to the show.
Oh, yeah, dude, I remember, I think that was Emily's first statement. She was like, what is this hocus pocus? I actually believe those are the exact words that she used.
I didn't talk to her about that, so that's funny.
Yeah, and you talked to her today. She's the biggest advocate of it. It's funny. I think a lot of athletes, and the vast majority of them, would say, no, I think there's absolutely something to it. There might be a few that are, in their own league,
Yeah.
And potentially, you know what, I don't know, they're just different, man. But
Yeah.
even for you, we can sit here and think about a time before you had to do an open workout, or maybe it's the quarterfinals, or maybe
God.
you're competing in a sanctional. You know,
Yeah.
that feeling, like that feeling, the butterflies and stuff.
Dude, the 2000, like anywhere from 2012 to 19, any open workout like makes me ill thinking about how much I stressed over it.
Yeah, man.
Because back then it was like, imagine like throwing darts at a dartboard that kept changing sizes, shapes, moving all over the place. Like every year, you're just like, you don't know what's happening. Oh no, now you have to kick a football at it. Like
Totally, man.
that's like what it felt like. Oh, the rules are different this year. What's the rules? Oh, we have this standard, but that standard doesn't make sense. Like, oh, I'll figure it out. Like,
Yep.
I, like it makes me sick
Totally.
thinking about the mindset I was in during some of those. But at the same time, 2015, when I had to qualify for regionals, it was Friday. I did the workout first time. I put up like an okay score, but I was sick. Like I had pneumonia.
Wow. Oh, like really sick.
Week 5. Yeah, I had
Oh.
pneumonia. Went to the doctors. They did chest X-ray, and they're like, "No, you have a pneumonia. You probably shouldn't be doing anything." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I have to cut 40 seconds off of my workout time." The fuck you talking about? Like I was like, I have to cut 40 seconds off on Monday. Like, how are we doing this? And
With
it was
pneumonia.
literally with pneumonia. Yeah. So I literally just wrote a number on the wall and I stared at it. It was rowing and thrusters. And I just stared at that number and it was just all mindset. Like the only like this is how I make it. And I was funny enough, Adam Davidson and I tied. I think we had the same number of points for the last 2 qualifying spots for regionals that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man,
like
what a story.
I had to cut 40 seconds off of a time that I thought I was already good at. And then, but it was just like, I don't think I've ever been so locked in mentally into something because I wanted it that bad.
Such a great feeling, man.
Yeah.
Such a great feeling. That's that like that zone thing that people talk about, right?
Mhm.
That well, you just proved it again. That zone is creatable. Like you created it yourself, right? I mean, you think about how many athletes get sick or get nauseous or get nervous before a competition. Like you can't sleep the night before. I don't know. You fly to Miami's WODProof the night before and you're tossing and turning all night. Man, all of these things go back to mindset, right?
Yep.
When you look at you look at a pro golfer, when the wheels come off, man,
they come
you're
off.
done, man. They come off, right? So, even if you look at somebody who gets no rep or they fail a heavy bar, that dude, if your mind's gone, it's over.
Yeah.
There's so many applications to mindset. It's like I said, there's, specific competition prep. There's breathing techniques. There's, techniques for putting your body in a peak state to lift at its maximum. There's techniques to control your breathing and heart rate when you're doing a huge endurance, a monostructural movement. Like there's so many different applications that all go back to the mind. It's yeah, man, I love it. I mean, I love it. It's remarkable stuff.
I mean, you mentioned being sick and you mentioned having to come back and perform. This all just came out about there being E. coli in the water in Madison and Emily being notoriously one of the people who was sick, but she was sick, up all night, barely ate anything, and then went out and won an event at the CrossFit Games.
Man, you know what gives me chills is we had a conversation and I said to her, and we're big advocates of Michael Jordan and his trainer, Tim Grover. And Tim Grover wrote a book called Relentless. And he shares the story in that book about how night before a big game, these guys, they order food. And MJ gets full on food poisoning. Mm-hmm. Tim Grover says he's sicker than he's ever seen him. It's the flu game, right? And he goes out there and puts up one of his best performances ever. Yeah. And I said to Emily, well, she's got E. coli, man, I'm telling you, it was 5 a.m. Okay. Kyle banging on my door and he's like, we got a problem. And
Kyle being Emily's husband.
Sorry. Yeah. And I go downstairs and in the room and I see Emily at the CrossFit Games, 5 a.m. I've never seen her this sick. Never in my life. Now here's her mental coach, right? So I walk in and I know she's looking at me. So I got to flick the switch and be like, as if it's no big deal. Like, hey, you're good. Like, we got this. And inside I'm thinking, oh man, we're done, man. We're done.
Yeah.
You know? And listen, again, we go back to that conversation, and I said, Michael Jordan goes out and plays the best game, one of his best games ever, after being in a state like that. If he can do it, so can you. And she just stared at me, and I could see the wheels turning, you know. And then she'll have that moment of she's dry heaving, and you know,
Yeah.
she had we're at the games in the athlete area, and she had like a silver, like, emergency, you know, like the emergency blankets, like the blanket on her, man, like shivering.
Oh, like the emergency
silver,
blankets you keep in the like a first
yeah,
aid
man,
kit just in case.
totally, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she's trying to hold it together, and then it just clicks. And I said to her, she has an opportunity that majority of the people in the world will never get, you know, in that type of environment. And I said to her, no matter what I do now, I can't be in her shoes. I don't have that opportunity. I had my shot to make it to the Olympics. That's gone. I can't do that anymore. So I don't have that chance, but she still does. And if she doesn't get out there, dig deep and find a way mentally to get past this, she's going to regret it for the rest of her life. And to me, the fear of living in that type of regret kills me, man. And it just shows, man, it shows that I gotta take a second and give hats off to Emily, man. She, you know, we've had so many ups and downs and so many great achievements, and that was one of the most remarkable and incredible athletic mental performances I've ever seen in my life.
And just to go over that workout for people who don't know, that was not a short workout. That was 5K of running and 90 toes to bar kind of spliced together in 3 rounds. So it was like 30 toes to bar. No, sorry, it started with the run, right? Whatever it was, like a mile and a half. Then 30 toes to bar for 3 rounds.
Yeah, then mile and a half run, and then 30 toes to bar. And yeah, and she she crushed it, man. Yeah, she crushed it.
Like, that is by no means the workout that somebody who's been up all night, you know, sick and like violently ill should go out and win.
Man, I couldn't even get out of bed. Let alone, you know, let alone she's got out there and she's winning events.
Yeah. And that to me, that like, it's super impressive that she has the capacity to win on that scale. But the capacity like gets thrown out the window when you're that ill. Doesn't matter.
Totally. You know what's amazing, man, is when you attach so much leverage to it. Like, there's so much purpose. It's incredible what we can do. I mean, you hear these stories about, man, mothers like going into a burning building and saving their babies, or like, I don't know, man, breaking a car window. And when you ask them to do it in everyday waking life, they can't do it. But it's incredible what they can do when there's that much leverage.
Yeah, that much on the line there.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that purpose, that power. It's ultimate power, man.
And I don't think, you know, like, I give you a lot of credit for that and the guidance, but the work was already put in before that point. It was just like, you know, the relationship was already there. If that was somebody new that you'd never met, or you know, you'd barely work with, and you kind of gave them a pep talk, they'd be like, the fuck's this guy? Right?
I get that every day.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys had the rapport and you had the groundwork laid where she was already in, you know, I hate to repeat it, but she was already in the mindset. She was already in the in the lane, and she just had to flip the switch when it came time to put in work, and she did it.
Yeah, she did, man. You know, there's a saying that I always say. It says, "You're one conscious decision away from an entirely different life." That's kind of my jam, man. That's kind of what pushed me to do what I wanted to do. And moments like that, shit, buddy, it's incredible what we can do when we decide. It's truly incredible.
Yeah, man. It's every time I talk to you, like, it makes me think about so many more things, and it's amazing, really amazing to think about what is capable. And like, you hear random stories about like actually Michael Jordan's Netflix documentary is a great example.
Oh yeah.
Where like, that guy doesn't even sound like he wants to like lose a hand to go fish.
Totally.
Never mind for money.
Go fish.
you know?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Like, but that's the mentality, and that's why he's known as being the best. 6 championships in how many playoff runs? Like,
Yeah.
what? It's like 6 out of,
But I
whatever
mean,
it is.
yeah, he won 3 straight, took a little bit of a break, came back, won another 3, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. And again, that like if I was to ask you what makes him different than me or you or anybody listening, like, do
I
we
mean,
all
like a
have the
foot of
same?
height, but other
Yeah,
than
okay,
that,
for sure, foot of height. But in general, I mean, we all have the same parts, and I think what you
yeah,
know the vast majority of people will truly get is our upbringing, what we did as kids, what we did in athletics. Sure, yeah, absolutely, 100%, 100%.
yeah.
But if you look at where you are today and where you want to go,
Hmm.
all right, in between is the conscious decision. Like you got to make it the decision. So it's funny when I talk to a lot of people, they're saying like, "Oh, Brett, I have an idea of what I want," or sometimes it's not even clear.
Yeah.
But it's so weird. I guarantee you, everybody knows exactly what they don't want. Like
Yep.
if you think about that, maybe you don't know exactly what the future looks like. You don't know exactly what it is you want. It's not clear yet. But you could make a huge list of exactly what you don't want. So sometimes I'll get people to look at exactly what they don't want in life. Then you reverse engineer it and start going the opposite direction. And again, it's that conscious decision every single day, conscious, measurable actions, daily behaviors, compounded to greatness, man. Again, it all depends on how bad you want to make that choice.
There's the clip for the show right there. That's the
Yeah.
man.
Oh,
I
yeah,
need
buddy.
I
Man,
need a
we always have some
second.
good chats.
Yeah, jeez. You know what? Like, it's every time I talk to you, it's just like the wheels get spinning. Like I already said this, but the wheels get spinning, and it's not just about performance. I mean, I guess it's different metrics in life and things I want to achieve, but it's like, you know, everything that you say can be applied to everything you do, not just like stepping out on the competition floor, going out and doing an open workout, whatever it is. It's like this is the framework for your entire life.
Man, you're right, man. I started coaching in the corporate world. Like I was performance mindset coaching executives and CEOs and corporate
Mhm.
leadership. That's how my coaching started.
Yeah.
It just happened to be that I prefer to coach athletes, man. My
Yeah.
passion, my love is in sports and athletics. And that's when I realized I was like, man, there's such a huge gap to convert mindset into performance, like physical performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's applicable in every single day of life. It doesn't matter if you want to make it to the CrossFit Games or you want to become the best chef or the best teacher or whatever it is that you want to do in life. It's all about mindset. And again, it's something that you can create. You can create that environment that we talked about earlier, about the people around you, the mindset environment. You can create the actions that you do every single day. If you don't know exactly what you want, I guarantee you know what you don't want. All right, make a decision and base it off of
Yeah.
that and do something about it. There's one other thing I said in my TED talk. I said that the vast majority of the people in this world are unhappy. And I know it's a bold statement, but hear me out. All right. I feel a lot of people are unhappy, but they're not unhappy enough to want to make a decision to do something about it. Okay. And the other half of people in the world are just happy enough to not want to make a decision to become even happier or whatever it may be. And that's kind of my take. It's like 50-50. Most people are just
Yeah.
not happy or they're just unhappy, but not unhappy enough to want to make a decision to do something about it. So it's weird. Inside those two groups of people, there are a few people that kind of rise to the top. Tony Robbins, Michael Jordan, these types of people we hear about.
Yeah.
And these people, they generally all have something in common, and it's usually massive adversity, a huge setback. You hear about these incredible success stories.
Hmm.
Even when we talk about CrossFit, Catherine David's daughter falling off the rope, Rich Froning, Fraser coming second. You hear about these stories, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually the catalyst to send somebody to the nut house and say, that's it. Like, I'm making a decision. I'm not stopping. Like that pain of that loss is going to haunt me forever. I remember Matt Fraser used to talk about stories about like, that's silver, like second place,
Yeah.
changed everything for him. Right. So when you talk about going in the dark place in his basement and just grinding it out all night, he would think about losing. Like that was his catalyst. Right.
Yeah.
But man, my whole business is built off of the foundation that you actually don't need the catalyst. Like you don't have to go out there and lose to be successful.
Okay. There we go. But you just got to know what you don't want.
That's it, buddy. And that's the key that I feel that a lot of people sometimes miss because their end goal is not clear enough for them. The other thing is that let's say, I don't know, man, let's say I'm going to go and I'm going to try out for the CrossFit Games. Okay. So I'm going to go to the Open. And let's say I get to the Open and I go to the quarterfinals and I do well, but I didn't make it to semis.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the ramifications of that? It's not like I'm going to lose the roof over my head. It's not like the world's going to stop.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people look at doing something, maybe the ramifications of them not succeeding are big enough. You understand? Like maybe there's not enough leverage attached to it.
I said that same thing to somebody else about like, they don't know what it's like yet because they haven't failed hard enough.
Totally.
Because people have stepped in or they've, been able to skirt by. But like, until you've like failed hard enough, I think this quote stuck with me is nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah, man. Well said. I love it. So there's the physical aspect, there's not something that's great enough to catapult you. But again, if we actually think of the symptoms of that, we attached, something to it, whether it's we lost or we didn't achieve what we wanted.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily have to go through it because we can create the same type of presence in our mind. The mind doesn't know the difference between reality, what's happening, and what we tell it, like what we actually construct.
Yeah.
Like the mind does not know the difference. The only thing that's happening is we're actually physically do something versus what we tell ourselves. And that's why you think about some people who become compulsive liars or believe the things that they say because they keep telling themselves over and over and over.
That's the truth.
Now, I'm not going to go tell everybody to go lie to themselves. Okay. I think it's very important that we identify clearly what we want. And if we don't know exactly what we want, let's look at what we don't want and start there.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's a very different thing. Like distinguishing, like I would say realistic expectations around what you're capable of.
Totally. Like Brett's not making it to the CrossFit Games. Brett's not making it to semifinals. Brett's not making it to quarterfinals, man. Right now.
Right now. I think you could one day.
Yeah. Well, maybe in Masters. Anyways, let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Man. All right. Let's we'll wrap it up on that note. I think that was a ton of information for people to digest, and I hope that we hear from people, and I hope people reach out to you about this one because this is some really powerful stuff, and it's every single time, like I said, every single time I talk to you, I'm like, man, just like more and more and more to think about, and like how to treat myself and like treat the people around me.
Yeah, well said. You know what, man, I'll leave you with this. The biggest thing that I've found working with some really cool people and some of the greatest athletes in the world is those people have incredible purpose. Like motivation sometimes will come and go. Like we might feel great and we're like, oh, I really want to do this. And then it kind of fizzles away. Right.
Yeah.
But when you have that purpose, when there's the leverage attached to it, when you find that's the opportunity. Like that could be everything that we want. And it just comes down to making that one conscious decision.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest connecting point to all the best athletes and the best CEOs I've ever worked with is that purpose and making that just conscious decision.
Just drop the mic right there.
I love it. Yeah.
All right. Brett, you're at Van City Brett on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
And if anybody wants to reach out to you, do you have a website or anything they can reach out to you, or where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, vancitybrett.com. That's it. And Instagram's, that's where I'm at these days.
Awesome. Man, thank you so much for your time. This has been deep. This has been very deep, and I really appreciate it. Guys, this has been the Difference Makers. Have a great week training. The Open's coming up. Good luck getting after it. All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hit that like button and subscribe down below for more content coming soon from WODProof.